Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, look at all of us.
This is
Yay!
so weird.
Wow, there's 12 humans that I'm looking at.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1,700.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, somebody joined us already.
Nice.
We can't see anybody because it's too far away.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm
I
like
hope-
squinting.
But
If anyone's there, can you hear us?
Hello.
we'll get back. We'll get back to you guys
Yeah.
on the questions.
Hopefully they can hear us.
I'm sure they can.
Well, we're here with Pam.
Cheers.
She is.
Good morning. Happy Monday.
Yay.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
And I also just want you guys to know it's got a whole different background scenery
Whole different
today.
vibe.
Curveball for you. We're on the road. The podcast is on the road.
Try to get
Pam has
some
graciously given us her home.
Yeah. It's actually a house that I flipped last spring and into the summer. And then the market took a little bit of a turn, so we turned it into an Airbnb. It's still for sale, but we're being patient. And in the meantime, we're just Airbnb-ing the crap out of it. So
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
so it's all staged and it's ready for reservations through the holiday season. But yeah, that's where we are today.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know who Pam is yet, hold your horses. So do we want to talk about how we each of us met Pam first?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause yours is probably a little more juicy than mine. So.
Super juicy.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
jeez. No, okay. So how did I meet you? I think we met on Instagram first.
Yes, we did.
And then, okay, and then I remember.
So weird.
I remember. Okay, so I showed up. Tim Shank was like, come to my networking group. And I was like, okay. And then I showed up, and then I literally walked in the door, and you're like, you're Michaela, Jean. And I was like, yeah. And I was like,
No clue what.
and you were like, I'm Pamela. And I was like, okay. And then you were like, Brass and Pine. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
So that was funny.
Insta world,
The Insta world is a crazy world.
Yeah.
And then
but a good world.
it's a great world.
Yeah.
And then I started coming to Coastal, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. And then Pam housed me for a little bit
That's
when I had nowhere to live.
Wow, what
we
a
were
team
roomies for a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah.
Nice.
Hot minute.
Bear fell in love with me.
My dog.
My dog. And yeah,
Oh, my hair.
that's how I know Pam.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's way more boring. I go to Coastal Connections over in Kittery, and that's how I met Pam. And potentially, I'm going to be doing some landscaping for her. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. What's
But yeah,
the snow melt?
that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. So mine's a lot more boring.
That was great though. But we met at Coastal, so that's special.
Oh yeah, look at this.
None
Pam's just
of us
bringing
would-
us all
None
together.
of us
Look at
would
this.
be
The
here.
glue.
She's
Yeah.
a connector. She's a connector.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So for those of you watching Pam on Pam's live and don't know Sean and I, we're just going to introduce ourselves real quick, and then we will give everybody else a little brief bio on who Pam is.
Yeah, I talk about wild hearts too because my followers probably don't know as much of like what's going on with you guys and this whole new endeavor.
Okay.
This is only the second kind of live podcast that they're doing, so it's very new but exciting.
Very new.
So.
Very exciting.
All right.
So I'm Michaela of Michaela Jean Photography. So my business, I work mostly with adventurous, intimate couples, and on the photography side of things, as well as I work with brands and women, kind of do like these empowerment women's photo shoots, which is something that's really special to me. Kind of the basis of my business and my brand is that if you saw yourself the way the rest of the world saw you, you would be astounded by your own beauty. So I bring that into my photography as well. Another side of my business that I've started now is leading vulnerability workshops. So those basically are a spot for women to all come together and kind of let go of those things that you have going in your lives that you don't really talk about. That's a very brief synopsis of what they are all about. But the next one is this Sunday, the 25th, and we have one ticket left if anybody is interested.
All right.
And that's a little bit about me.
That's all you. Okay. All right, guys. Hi, my name's Sean Adam. I'm with Up and Adam Inspirational Speaking and Life Coaching. I actually started this business. It was the last 6 months have been pretty tumultuous for me, in that I feel like the path has been cleared so I can do this work. Basically, it was born through my experiences with depression, ADHD. They call it bipolar, but that was kind of my life throughout my 20s. So a lot of navigating that world was developing my emotional world and kind of understanding where these feelings were coming from. So basically what I've done is I've stepped into this very vulnerable place in inspiring others with my story and just saying, hey, that this is not who you are. It's just a challenge you face, and you can rise above it and still do great things. Like, I didn't ever think I'd be doing a podcast or speaking to people about it, but I fought through it, and that's why I do what I do. And I think that's kind of the precipice of why me and Michaela came together, is to kind of push people to be vulnerable, step into that. It's not easy. It's really hard, but it's about,
The reward is worth it.
Yeah, the reward is worth it. And we're trying to just bring community together by this podcast, like get people to talk about their vulnerable stories and share, and just show you that like dreams are possible. You just gotta work for them and get a little vulnerable along the way.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we were actually talking about it yesterday, how like what we kind of wanted, what we thought success was for this podcast, or currently this video series, and kind of just this really incredible opportunity to bring community together, like especially since we're starting here on the Seacoast, to be able to just run into like Pam at White Heron next Friday or something, and like see her and be like, hey, like I saw you on Wild Hearts, and like this like resonated with me, and we have this in common, and just kind of like an opportunity to really bring community together and feel relatable through vulnerability.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
All right, guys. So should we intro Pam? I'm gonna.
Yeah, we should.
All right.
Drum roll.
So based on what Pam told me, she is just your typical badass, independent, goal-chasing DIYer, or
DIYer? Or
IT
DIY?
sales girl, gal turned house flipping DIYer. I'm not 100% sure, so I'm gonna let you fill in any blanks that you have of how you would like to introduce yourself.
Kind of wraps it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like I was in, let's say, like my last role was in IT. I was in IT for about 5 years, which I really owe a lot of gratitude to, because financially it brought me to a place where I could buy my first investment property. And that's where the love for renovations and house flipping and all of this stuff evolved. I never knew I wanted to do this stuff.
Okay.
Never knew. I was like always in sales. I wanted to make money. I knew I wanted to like save for, at one point I wanted to be like, I wanted to own like a bed and breakfast kind of thing.
Okay. Cool.
So I guess it was kind of deep down in there, but that was more of like a retirement goal for me. I love hosting people, so I like go all out when I host like out of town guests. So the Airbnb hosting kind of like really resonates with me now. But it wasn't until I bought my first house. It was a 2-family in Kittery, and I had to renovate it in order to increase the rent that I would be able to get in the future. So, with that being said, the budget was really small. So I called my dad, and I was like, I need some help. I need to do this, that, and the other thing. So he just kind of helped me and guided me, and kind of that's how it started.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Michaela about this last night, and like something that struck me as really interesting is like when you think of like your creative side of your brain, it like calls upon one side of your brain. And my aunt is like this like super interior decorator, does like a lot of antiques and remodel finishing, and like obviously that's kind of the space you're in now.
Yeah.
But then like the stark contrast of IT, like so like where it seems like it's more like check the boxes, like it's all gonna stay in the box. So I guess talk to the people about like, where did the IT come from? Was that like a passion? Was it more of just like, hey, I want to do this to save? Like that's something I'm really curious about, because that's something I didn't know about your story. So like if you could just kind of talk on that, I'm like really curious.
Yeah, so I was always in sales. I mean, I've been selling my parents like on why I should have gotten like more for allowance since I was like 6. I mean, they'll tell you like you were a born salesperson because like you were always hustling.
Okay.
So so sales was kind of in my blood, and I had gone through a few things. And then when I got out of college, I wanted to be in the fashion world. So I got into the fashion industry, which is that creative side of my brain.
Okay.
What I really like. It was my first, salary position out of college. I worked for Ralph Lauren. I started in Boston. They promoted me to New York. So I did that huge leap, and then, the salary bump wasn't that much. And so I knew that like, okay, well, this is my passion. I love fashion, but it wasn't paying bills. And I was like, okay, I need to make a change. So I ended up saying to myself, let's move. I moved to Portsmouth from New York. I wanted to kind of, plant the seed of, kind of buying a house, having a car again, maybe, settling down. That all didn't really work out exactly to plan, but I got into a sales position when I was here and just kind of went through a few different sales positions. And then a girlfriend of mine worked at Oracle, which is a huge tech company, and she was talking about, you know, the money she was making, and I was like, oh, I don't even know the difference between like hardware and software. Like, I really could never do that. She's like, it doesn't matter. Okay. And I'm like, okay. So I went in, I interviewed like with 8 people that day. Yeah, it was like 3.5 hours. I was like, boom, 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 boom. And at the end, you know, it's really just selling yourself, you know, like I have a passion to sell and make money, and, you know, customer service is a huge thing for me. So just being able to say that to all of the leaders within that company, they were on board. So I started working for them, and that's kind of how I got into IT. Because I just, for me, it was money. Okay. You know, it wasn't my passion. Okay. I'm not an IT girl. Yeah. I'm like, what the hell am I even talking about? Yeah, exactly. But I'm really good with follow up, follow through. Yes. You know, being different than the average salesperson, like just treating people different was really important for me. And I stood out because of that. And I was really successful. So that's kind of where I went, and I did that for about 5 years. I knew it was not going to be forever. And then finally I bought my first house, and then I started an Instagram account for that renovation project. And, you know, it just, the following grew, and people were asking questions all the time. And then I had an investor, and I were talking, and he's like, let's do a flip. And I was like, wow, I could really make this like a business. So many people are interested. So I finally just bit the bullet and, you know, quit my job in February of last year.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I was like,
damn, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, the stars just kind of aligned, and there was some things in the pipeline for me, projects and just investors and personal projects that I was getting into. So it just kind of worked out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really
so it's been really fun, and it's just been super humbling. I mean, I've never worked more in my life, but I love what I do. You know, I was making 6 figures before, and I said goodbye to that, and it was like so hard. Now I don't even know how I'm gonna make money next month. But
here's
but hey, like I'm taking the holidays off because, you know, I've saved money, and I'm just making sure that I put my priorities first, and that's the holidays, my family, friends, and just like my favorite time of year. And I can have that ability to do so because I work for myself. So it's hard and so stressful and so demanding, but it's also so rewarding.
Well, so I guess the next question I have is, I think you talked about an important distinction, right? Is like you gave up 100, or, you know, 6 areas. I'm just like 100 grand, maybe more, probably more knowing you, but
she's a very hard worker.
But I think that's an important distinction, because for a lot of people that are in their 20s, right? Like, I know I was chasing money. My first business, landscaping, was chasing money. It failed because it got hard and I didn't love it, so I stopped. And then it was sales role after sales role. And it's like, talk about the distinction between letting that go and like chasing something that you're truly passionate about. Because I know for myself, it's been like stepping into this is like, yeah, it's hard, it's demanding, but I love it. I love every time I sit down and have these like vulnerable conversations where we talk about like, hey, I'm going through this, and you like help someone move forward. You know, that's my passion. But talk about like that distinction of like, was that really hard letting that go? You know, because I think as we chase the things we want, it's more about letting things go than it is about like adding a million things.
Right. And you know, and it was probably a long time coming, because I was trying to put this, you know, all of the, you know, everything in place before I made that leap, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't jump off like a mountain and just fall to my death. Because I, at the time, was a single girl, and I just like, I had 2 properties that I'm paying mortgages on, and I have a lot of expenses. So for me, it was like, okay, getting all of the finances in order, lining all of that up, and making sure that I had a project coming up and a couple of things down in the pipeline, so that I knew I was going to be able to be okay for a little while. And that's really important. I think that, you know, chasing your goals and like your dreams is super important, but making sure that you are set up to do that successfully is the most important part of it, because if you don't, then you're not going to fail, but it's going to be really hard. And the financial part of that is so stressful, and then you kind of get into your head, and then you get into a really bad place So I think that's kind of what I, just considered before I took that leap.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like even just in the past like year that I've known you, like we might be getting too personal now. But but like I feel like there's
vulnerability and sweating.
Who is sweating? But I just thought of this. Like I feel like even just in the last year of knowing you, there's like 2 times that I feel like I've seen you like become lighter and like just like happier and like freer in what you're doing. And I think the first time was when you really left your job, like your other job. And second, when I left and Daryl moved in. But it's like, I mean, we don't have to talk about that, but I just feel like at what point do like the fears, because like whether it's a new relationship, whether it's jumping into a new job, like at what point did the like fear of like the unknowing of a job or a relationship like outweigh that, wow, like I really feel like I'm in my element like doing this?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So there's always fear, and I still have fear. I still have fear within my job. I still have fear within my relationship sometimes. Like, going to the relationship thing, we jumped into all this, but it's been kind of a long time coming as well. So we felt comfortable in doing that, and it's been like kind of a working through, an adjustment. And I think the same goes with this job. I mean, my new career path is just like, there's so much more unknown. Like I don't have everything. Like I don't, 6 months maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a kind of an idea, but like still, I have things that might be happening in 2 months that I don't even know about yet. So it's just, for me, it's like it's exciting, less than fear. It's more like excitement for me than it is fear, because I know that like whenever something crazy happens, like I just attack it, and it's exciting because it's new and it's a change, and I love change. Like I don't know why, I just do. I can't, like a status quo life is not for me. So for change and like that, I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to be next year.
Yeah.
Like I can't even predict that I will be in Portsmouth next year, because that's how my life is.
Yeah.
Which is fun and like kind of crazy. Like my parents are like, how do you live like that? But I'm like, this is just me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be like inhibited of doing like something bigger if it comes down the road. So
Speaking of that a little bit, so you are from this area, right? Like you grew up
Concord.
Okay, I'm sorry, Concord.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what did like your life like post like high school like look like? Because you've been then maybe like post. Did you go to college?
Yeah.
Yeah, post college. Like, what was that all about? Like, you've traveled a bit. Like, you've lived in quite a few different places.
Yeah, I did. I started at Endicott College in Beverly, Mass, and then I transferred because it was a smaller school. And during high school, I didn't really do great with, academics.
All about personality.
It's not that I didn't want to. It's not that I didn't want to. I was just rebellious. I don't know why. Some people are. I did move high schools when I was a sophomore, so that might have had a little bit to do with it. But I took a year and a half off after high school and got my own apartment. My senior year, I bought like furniture for my place. I was so pumped. I was working full time when I was 18 and living on my own. And then my mom and dad were like, "You gotta go to school. You gotta go to school." I'll say something, but I'm gonna be like Michael Jimmy. No. So he's on social media.
That's so funny.
But no, so I knew I wanted to go to school. I just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So I knew inside, like, I wanted to go to college. I wanted to be successful. I wanted all these things, but I wasn't ready to make that commitment yet. I drove my parents crazy, but whatever. I mean, now I'm obviously the favorite, so it's fine. It worked out. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Pam's got jokes.
Pam is funny.
So yeah, I think that I forget what I was talking about.
Just off of that, like I feel like that's so important for, especially like if anyone is listening who's in high school or like college right now, like that is obviously we live in kind of this society where we're like push like on this specific like road of life, and just to like have that intuition at such a young age to be like, I'm not ready to commit to this thing that is supposed to like dictate the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Like that's.
I think let's talk about that real quick. A little branch off since we're like trying to inspire the next generation is like when you're going to think about college. Like I remember for me, I've been plagued up until about now with I don't know what I want to do with my life. You know, so that's confusing. And it's like for me, I went and got an associate's degree in business management because business has to do with everything.
Right.
And that was the only confidence I had in doing it. And then I finished that, and people often are like, "Why didn't you go for your bachelor's?" I was like, "Because I didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't going to like invest another $80,000 because you know I personally, in my experience, watched like friends like get these 4-year degrees, be 80 grand to 100 grand in debt, and then they're working at Walmart or whatever. They're not even utilizing the degree, and then they're like, well, like people get English degree. I don't even know what I'm not even going to use that. How do I use that in the real world? So it's like, I think that's an important distinction too. Is like, if you don't know, like take a minute. You know, because like figure out, go travel, go do some things, like figure it out before you invest, like because that's a huge investment. And personally, for me, I'm kind of pumped that I only did 2 years. Like I have minimal debt, you know, and I think that you know as you're trying to build this life, it's hard enough. You know, like why invest 100 grand into something you don't even know if you're gonna like it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's cool. I didn't know that about you. That like you were out like apartment at 18, like just driven, ready to go. Did you kind of have that same like I don't know what I want to do, or did you kind of have a direction that you want to, and then things just fell into place? Or talk a little bit about that.
I really wanted to go into fashion, but you know I knew that if I got a fashion degree, that it would really silo me in the future if that's not really what I wanted to do when I grew up. So I went and got my business management degree with a minor in entrepreneurship. So I did that, and you know that just keeps the doors open. And like anybody going to college, I'm just like learn about business. Like you know you can get a double major, you can major in some another thing, but I think business is the just like the framework for anything you do. If you're a teacher, if you're a doctor, if you're an entrepreneur, you need that business sense and that kind of like strategy because it's going to come back. Yeah, I mean, it's going to come back tenfold to you. Yeah. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, coming from somebody who has nutrition, food sustainability, and sociology degrees, like,
well, hippie she is.
Like, I mean, I would kill for the freaking like any kind of information on like business or entrepreneurship, even though like I'm a year into my business, like, I still have no idea what I'm doing. And I think that's like you maybe wouldn't have even made that connection. Like, this is what I need to maybe like pursue without taking that year or however long it was like beforehand. So what does post college look like?
Okay, yes. So that's what we were talking about. Yeah. I've moved around. So I transferred to ECU, which was in North Carolina. By then I was just so ready to be out of college. So I took summer classes and I doubled up, or I added courses throughout the semesters so that I could graduate early. So I graduated, I think, a semester early. And then I moved to Charlotte because my college boyfriend lived there, and I tried to make that work for like 6 months. I'm like, I was in insurance sales because they're like, oh, make 100 grand. I'm like, yeah, let's make 100 grand. Because I was like, sales, let's make some money. And so I went in there and I was like miserable. I'm like, I can't even believe that I'm out here selling policies. Like, I can't sell policies because I don't know what I'm selling. And this is people's health. Like, this is not a fit. Yeah. So I moved up to Boston from North Carolina. I started working for Bloomingdale's. This is like a Rachel Green story from Friends. Okay. I started working for Bloomingdale's. I was like a personal stylist there in the men's store. And then Ralph Lauren recruited me out of Bloomingdale's. Okay. So I worked for them in their wholesale division for worked for them for about 2 years, and then they promoted me, maybe less, maybe a year and a half, and then they promoted me into New York City. So that was like a dream come true. Yeah. It was everything and more than I could have ever imagined. Like, it's really like a city where it could go one of two ways. It could go like amazing and perfect. Like, I had a great experience, and it could be such a lonely place too. So if you don't get into a group or community of people that you can, just struggle with and like live that city life. I mean, it's tough. I mean, you're like paycheck to paycheck. You're like, I'm like returning clothes that I had tags on, so I had to figure out how to eat that week. But like, damn, I was having a good time. Yeah. I was having so much fun. And I had this one friend, she called called me on like a Monday or Tuesday, I knew we were going somewhere cool. I was like, we're gonna go see celebs. Like I'm like gonna wear my nicest clothes. So it was really fun. But then, you know, I moved there like a little bit later, like in life for me. It was like when I was like 25, and by the time I was like 28, I was kind of like, okay, that's when I wanted to make the change.
Mhm.
So, you know, it was like 2008, the market crashed, and kind of like I got laid off of my job. And so I had to make a decision. Do I stay and do the grind and keep this going, or do I make a change? So I moved to Portsmouth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you've been here for a little
Well,
bit.
I mean, I kind of stopped because I ran out of breath, but I moved back to Portsmouth. I lived here for a few years, and then I needed to like kind of pump up my resume. So I moved to Boston for a few years, and then I moved back here.
Okay.
So I've been back for 2 years, something I think.
Cool.
2 years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the thing that's popping up in my head is I want to talk about kind of going back to, you know, like when you're doing an IT job, it's probably like, what is it, 9 to 5? I mean, it's a sales job, so it's never 9 to 5, but in general, it's 9 to 5. So I'm wondering how being like, I know for myself when I was in sales roles, it was more about like a strict schedule, like get up at this time, do this, like the gym after. How has that transition been from like, you know, having like a very structured thing to like, whereas, or have you tried to create structure in your business, or is it kind of just like rolling with the punches? Like,
well, it's renovations, so there's no structure in that because it's every day is different, and you just don't know what you're facing that day.
Okay.
You know, your windows are supposed to be installed, but then the guys don't show up, so you're chasing them around, and you're like, "Where's everybody?" Blah blah blah. You got a home inspection, you've got a water leak, a basement flood in your own house. It's like, ah, that's my life. I love it.
Really?
But you love it though, seriously.
That is real life. That is my real life now.
So I guess in the beginning, then, from like when you jumped in, was that a tough thing to get used to, or have you just like jumped into it like thriving, or has there been like a lot of learning within that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I was trying to figure out how I was going to answer that because I think that I jumped into it like, holy crap, this is a lot, but I was ready. I was like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Can you just like, can something go right? You know, can we just go to plan? So I think, it's just, you just have to adjust to, this is the life, renovation world. If anybody's ever gone through a renovation, it's tough, and it's unpredictable, and you're always over budget. So it's really hard to plan for a renovation. And the unpredictability of that is kind of what I love about it, but it's also my worst nightmare in the same sense.
Yeah.
But I love it. So, I mean, I'm sure at some point I'm going to get a little bit more tired of it. So I've been trying to take a little bit less hands-on approach and just do more design and more of the vision and more GC, general contracting, and just managing all of the subcontractors, which I've got a great team that I work with now. All family guys. We have a really good respect for each other because they freaking bust my butt when I need to, and they're like, "You are all business."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Let's go.
So you better be too.
Yeah. Like that.
I want to know where your work ethic came from, because like you literally have like one of the craziest work ethics out of people that I've, maybe not even like work ethic, but like you work your, like there would be days when Pam would like literally come up from the basement and like her entire face was like spray painted white. I'm just like, what happened down there? She's like, I couldn't see what I was doing, so I just took my goggles off and didn't care that the spray paint was getting all over my face.
In my eyeballs.
Like in your eyeballs, in your hair, like gray hair.
Yeah.
Like you're constantly, you don't sit still. Like,
where
did
that
my
dad
come from?
That is my dad, 100%. The guy, if he sits down, he falls asleep. That's why he doesn't stop moving. Because as soon as he sits down, he's out. And we always make fun of him. We're like, Dad, get up.
Yeah.
And he's just, he has always been like that my whole life. My mom is quite a hustler too. Like she was in the real estate industry early on. There wasn't a lot of women in the industry at that point. It was really early in the game, and the guys used to call her the shark. But she was so good, and of course, being a woman, you're just so much more nurturing and so much more detailed in most respects of that industry. And so she got a good following really quickly. She made really good money. So so they both are like, you know, my mom's got that real businessy kind of like go-getter, intense. It's where I learned all my intensity from. And then my dad's like chill, like do everything myself. I'm not paying anybody to do anything I can do.
Yeah,
Kind of
that makes
mentality.
a lot of sense.
Oh,
That makes a lot of sense.
That's like me.
Yeah.
Me. 100%.
That's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I love that. So earlier on in life, you were kind of driven by money and like wanted to make a paycheck. And that probably was kind of successful in your eyes. Like that's what success looked like. What does success look like for you now?
That's a good
Whether
question.
it's business, personal life, like the whole
the whole picture. Cover the whole picture.
I think that success as a whole picture. I think you know, just being internally really happy and filled with pride and being able to, you know, empower others to feel good about themselves and lift other people that are close to you or around you, or just somebody that, you know, maybe it's a stranger that you just can feel they need some sort of uplifting. And you can just make their day by, I don't know, whatever it is, buy them a coffee or just, you know, say thank you to a vet, whatever the little things are that you can do throughout the day, just like spread the goodness. I think that for me is success now. It's not about my bank account, you know. That's really not what I look at ever anymore. It's just, I want to retire, so I've got to think of those things, but you know, just trying to give back. And you know, that's one of the reasons why I started Coastal Connections.
Just about to ask that.
Yeah, it's like I wanted to, you know, so about 2 years ago, so I guess I've been back in the area for 3 years, but 2 years ago, I started Coastal Connections because I was looking for a networking group that met in the morning where we could be very constructive and business oriented, and I didn't want to do an after hours thing. Like I just feel like it's too social and you don't get anything done. I think they're good once in a while, but for me, I was like really looking for something like just serious, you know, for the morning. And I asked around to my network of people, and nobody knew of anything free that was available. So I was like, I'm starting a group. And so I started it. At the time, it was when I was with my IT role, and we were a Dover Chamber member. So we started the meetings at the Dover Chamber of Commerce, their little meeting room. And then I was like, I think we need to move this to Portsmouth so we can really grow the group. I mean, we went through like a lot of ups and downs. We moved the group to the Cove, which is where Michaela came on. And then we like quickly grew out of that
like really
space. Yeah.
It was like elbows to like get into that room.
It was like consistently 20 people every week, and we meet every Wednesday morning. And the reason why we do it every week is because if for some reason you have to miss a week, you don't miss seeing those people for several weeks. You know, you get to see them 3 other opportunities that month. So it really builds that rapport and that respect and that trust, and that's how you pass referrals.
Oh my gosh.
So you know, when we grew out of the Cove downtown, and of course I want to keep it free for all the members, so I was looking around and we ended up at the Kittery Estates, which is like a kind of like a retirement community right near the traffic circle in Kittery. So it's super easy, there's parking, and we can grow as big as we want there.
It's a huge room.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna call a quick timeout. Shameless business plug right now. Hey, for all you other new business owners out there, where is he again? Kittery Estates, Wednesday mornings, 8:30.
We're there every week.
I forget what it was called. I just show up to the address. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, there's plenty of room. Come join. Where all 3 of us go. We're pretty friendly human beings, and
we're not meeting this with Wednesday because it's the holiday.
Oh yeah, that's starting next one.
It's not this Wednesday. But I think it's just a great way. I've gotten some referrals already, and I think, like you said, I think what I really appreciate about it is exactly what you've tried to create. Is like you're seeing these people constantly, whereas like I've gone other ones where like you go once or twice and then you don't see anyone, and it's like I'm not going to refer someone I've seen once. I have no idea what you do. Like I don't know if it's quality, and I'm not going to just like because like I know for me what's important is like when you're referring someone, like I believe in that person. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people understand that about me is like if I'm gonna refer someone to you, like it's someone I believe in. It's not just some like Joe Schmo that showed up off the corner of the street.
Right.
Not to say he couldn't be good either, but I don't know. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Well, I mean, this coastal too is like it's. Like, I would probably consider most of the people in that group like friends at this point. Like it's you see these people every week, and I mean, if you can't show up a week, like it's not a big deal. But it's not like a normal networking group, which isn't a bad thing. But like some networking groups, like you kind of feel like cold or like your people are just trying to sell you things in a way. But I feel like this group has just created like such a beautiful community of like trusting like relationships. Like I know for like Sean and I wouldn't have met without Coastal, like we wouldn't be here doing this podcast, and like our relationship just started like with a cup of coffee and like a let's be friends, and then here we are. And I mean, I booked a shoot in France because of that group. I had a place to live because of that group. Like the support is just like so incredible because it's not just a business group. It's like
it's kind of, a lot of people in the group have told me it's kind of their reset for the week.
Yeah.
It kind of like gives them like just a pump of energy midweek, every week. And I mean, we are greeting each other with hugs and like, you know, we chit chat, and we're trying to do, you know, happy hour every other month, I guess is kind of what's going on now. But yeah, we've got our holiday party on December 5th. It's going to be at Profile. Everybody's welcome to come. They are giving us the whole space.
Come on, guys.
We have the whole space for our group, so come on over and meet the group if you want on December 5th from 6 to 9. But yeah, it's been a really interesting story, that networking group, because I was ready to quit it a couple times because I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, this is a lot of work. Like, but I just pushed on because I saw that people were really looking forward to it. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a little therapy session. Almost.
Yeah, like I was going to talk about what it is for me. I think it's like it's a Wednesday morning. It creates like some consistency where like right now I'm 3 months into my business. It's like all over the place. So it's like, okay, I'm going to go talk to my peeps. Like they're all trying to do what I'm trying to do. Like, and we can just support each other, get, like you said, like a boost of energy. Like you're usually laughing and smiling when you get out of there. And I think that's really important because I know for me, again, with my struggles, I used to isolate, and like I realized how important community is for me. And it's like finding kind of these safe containers to just like, yeah, man, like that's what I'm going through. And like, yeah, I got the night guy. Oh man, like laughing, like, oh yeah, dude, like I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think that's important, you know, no matter what arena you're in, whether it's business, whether it's, you know, an IT sales job, I think it's important to find that kind of support because at the end of the day, we're human. So we're always going to have self-doubt. We're always going to have fears. And, you know, when you have someone sitting beside you or all around you that's going through the same thing, it can be like, hey man, like, did you try this? Or like, they can be like, just that slight shift in perspective. Like, I know I've had people that have just said one little tweak in the way I look at things, and I'm like, oh, like, all on, like, let's go. And it just gives you all the confidence in the world, you know? So I think that that's really cool that you created that. I want to jump back to what success is for you, because I think what is really important about when we ask this question is it's different for everyone. But what I really appreciate about your answer is that it seems like success has nothing to do with out here. It's more of a feeling. And I feel like in hearing your story, it wasn't always that way. So can you talk about maybe that transition, like that evolution of your idea of success? Because I'm sure as a driven person, you probably like had all these dreams and houses and all kinds of stuff. I can imagine you were like in your own apartment at 18. So
yeah,
I was like not even close to doing that. So I'm like, that's pretty badass. But, you know, can you just talk about that evolution of what success looked like and how now you've gotten to like, it's about a feeling and being more open to like what it looks like on the outside?
Yeah, I think that comes with maturity and growth and development of, you know, and just, you know, life experiences, kind of the ups and downs, the highs and lows, and, you know, seeing friends die of cancer already in their 30s. It's like, it gives you a new perspective of like, wow, what is really important? Because I could be here for another year and be done. Like, what do I really want to value in life right now? And that's like, for me, it was getting rid of, you know, toxic people in my life, you know, friendships or people that I just held on to because I thought that I needed to, you know, stay friends with them because we had invested years. And it's just like, just get rid of it. It's like such a weight off your
Yeah.
shoulders, and then you can really focus on the good people that you have in your life and give them your energy, and your time. And I think that through the years of just kind of going through the grind of working and having fun and being young, and then being responsible, buying my house, and then all of the things that come with buying your first house, and it's a huge responsibility. And I think that it gave me a lot of perspective on what my new goals were, and like my new dreams were, and then just really being in a role every day that I love. Like I've worked 7 days a week, but I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Like I was working the 40, 50 hours a week, making 6 figures and not even worrying about whatever. And I was just like, every day I was sitting in front of my computer, I'm like, oh, I hate this.
Yeah.
It's like 8 hours of misery every day. Like, why would I do that to myself? For money?
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not worth it.
Right.
So I think that's kind of how my perspective ended up changing, and making that kind of happen. Making a dream a reality is just like, it's like a whole new world.
Yeah.
You have a new perspective on how you're going to survive, how you're going to thrive, how you're going to chase after opportunities. And then just and I think that now just a success, I guess, it's just, for me, it's become, it's evolving like every day.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, absolutely.
You kind of touched upon this, but so we talked with Rhea last week of Rhea on assignment. One thing that she said that kind of has stuck with me all week, is this idea of not adding things into your life to like be happier or feel more successful, but like taking things out of your life. Is there anything kind of throughout like your life, or just your process of your business, or anything where you had to kind of let go of things or sacrifice things in order to kind of make that space to bring in new relationships or whatever it may be?
Yeah, I mean, what were you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So you said you had to let go of some of those friendships that maybe weren't serving you as well. So for Ray, I think she had to let go of drinking. Is there anything like that where you're like, okay, these are the top 3 things I see as being kind of hurdles to making room for better stuff? So is there a top 3 that you had to let go of? And it could be people, anything.
So probably just that focus of making money. And that stress, and I need to have that paycheck, and letting go of needing that, and knowing that it can be made, being happy, and be just working hard for myself. I think that's one of the things I had to let go. Toxic relationships were definitely in there. I mean, that really was it was just kind of exhausting. It was like, I can't manage my life and my world and all my good people and my family friends, and then have these toxic people, so they had to go. And when you have friends that can't be happy for you, that's a red flag. It's like,
Oh my gosh.
it's sad, and it's just you gotta go, bye.
No,
trim the fat is what I call it.
Yeah,
I like that.
I'm like, trim the fat, because it's you're holding me down and you're holding me back. So, because I'm the opposite. I love being happy for other people, and I love seeing my friends and family successful, and I just love watching people do great things, and I constantly brag about my friends all the time and my family, and I think that's what it's all about, is being happy with yourself first and loving yourself, and then you can be happy for others. So find that happiness within yourself is super important. And it took me a while to, I'm sure you guys are figuring this out too.
Yeah.
You got to be happy within your own skin, and love who you are, and then you can open the doors to other things.
Well, I know for me personally, that's why I appreciate your answer so much, is my journey has been all about that. Yes, I wanted to chase the money, the success, all these things, but it's been so much about, I was I was sitting in this depressed body where I hated myself, I hated my life, I hated everything. And the outside picture though, when someone would come in and look at it, it's you got a $46,000 truck, you have a nice place, you're making good money, you can go ski, you can go travel, you can do all these things. But it taught me a valuable lesson in that the outside picture can be the prettiest thing in the world. And I remember growing up thinking like, this is, I hope no one takes offense to this. It's just like, I remember seeing this, but like the beautiful woman that's like got the rich husband and like she sits by the pool all day and does all this stuff. But yes, your outside world's happy, but how do you feel on the inside? So for me, like the entire journey has been about like learning my emotional cues and like basically discovering my inner world so that I can find it here first, because you could give me everything in the world, and if you're depressed and you don't like your life, it doesn't matter. So I think that's why I valued your answer so much, and that has been so much of what my journey is about. Now I've gotten to this place where I feel like I kind of have that imbalance and in check, and it can always get better, but it's like about building now, and building, like you said, having that belief the money will come, just follow your heart, and it's not always going to be easy or like you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's just like I'm on fire. Like I'm gonna leave here and be like sprinting down the streets like a psycho because I'm so jacked up. Like doing these things that excite me. So it's like I'd rather feel that, and like the money will come. You know what I mean? So I think that that's such an important distinction for people to understand.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday or this morning. I can't remember what were you saying? How the way.
I said a lot of things.
What were you saying? Well, you were saying something about how the emotions that you have, kind of like the way that you feel about yourself, kind of dictates the way like your appearance is, or like, do you remember?
Okay, yeah. So, well, here's like a specific example from last week. I was in a space of like kind of just anger inside. I didn't really recognize it, but I was driving us back from somewhere, and this car has high beams on at me, and I just lost it. I just like flipped them on and kind of like swerved at him a little bit. So that's probably not good to admit, but that's what happened. And Michaela was like, "What are you not at peace with?" Very calmly, and I was just like, I was so like pissed off. I was like, "Leave me alone." And then like you sit with it, and it's like, okay, like I was angry about XXX, and then and then like the next morning, someone completely cuts me off, and I'm just like zened out Master Miyagi over here, like. So cool, bro.
Like,
and then I was but then I was upset because I was like, oh, my kid was right.
Smart lady.
Yeah, I mean that emotional world inside is how you're gonna show up. Like, because you might snap at someone that like is really close to you, and then you're like, oh, God, what the hell was that? But that's why I think it's so important. Like, at least for me, morning routine is like getting that, like doing the meditation, doing the prayer, getting myself in check. Like how you start your day is super important. It's not to say I can't like thrive without it, but I'm more likely to like,
I don't have my avocado toast.
I was gonna say,
watch out.
So it's avocado toast for you.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any other kind of like routines that you're like, things that you do that you're other than the avocado toast?
I'm like constantly thinking. And just constantly thinking of like and creating, like I have always like all these ideas in my brain, and all these ideas. So I've got a few investors that I work with, so I'm always bouncing ideas off of them, and getting them pumped up. And we've got some things, exciting things like coming up in the new year, and I've met with a couple of new investors recently, so there's some things in the works there, but it's just being like creative and making sure I keep that book open so that people can come in and we can create together and do something really cool. So that's kind of a routine. No, I need one.
Yeah.
Recommendations. Actually really send them our way.
I actually real quick. I think we are running out of time.
We are.
But
Sorry, guys.
I think this is a really important question. Is how did you go about getting investors? I think I personally I look up to that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Like what was the problem? I mean, you don't have to like give all your secrets away, but
yeah.
What is like tell about how you kind of like went about that, and give some advice to the people, because I think like sometimes you have a business idea and you need an investor. Like I mean that happens a lot, and it is a possibility. So if you think you don't have 10 grand to start a business, like tell them how to get that going.
So let's see. My first investor and I worked together on several deals while I was in IT. So he and I kind of got to know each other that way. And so he saw how I worked, I think, within my role there, which kind of gave him, some confidence in who I was as a person and a worker. And then, we got to talking about, how I was renovating my house or whatever. And so I showed him some pictures, and he was like, wow, it's like, let's start flipping houses, screw IT. And I'm like, really? I'm like, okay.
Alright.
Well, I will come back to that.
Yeah, like, okay,
In
I'm
6
listening.
months, in
Yeah, like,
6 months.
that
But no, it just ended up that, something came up on the market, and I was kind of like, I just shot him an email. I was like, "You ready to start flipping houses?" I kind of called him on his bluff,
Yeah.
and he was actually
Like,
serious
serious.
about it. So
Cool.
that's how that one developed, and then I found a couple of them on social media. They found me actually. So
Wow.
it's
That's
just
cool.
kind of showing my work, and kind of being transparent. The whole basis behind my Instagram account is just to show like not all of the pretty pictures. It's to show the raw reality of flipping houses and renovating houses and being a designer and doing Airbnb and every other thing I do.
Yeah.
And just juggling it all and trying to let the ball stay up in the air and not drop anything while your basement's flooding.
Yeah. Do you have any advice on growing your social media account?
I think it's just consistency and the hashtagging I think has been a huge thing, and I've done some partnerships with a couple of people within the home renovation world, and we just do some sharing of each other's pages and what else do I do? Just keep it real. Yeah. People see through that bullshit.
Yeah.
I just want to give you a high five.
Heck yeah, my hand's kind of sweaty, so. Well, do you have any? We do need to wrap up, but do you have any advice for people who may be thinking about like jumping into a new endeavor, going out on their own, starting their own business, or like they're afraid to kind of leave that 9-to-5 job? Like, piece of advice that you have?
Well, if you are looking to start a new business, like I said before, it's just get everything in place before you make that jump. Whether it's what are you worried about? What are you concerned about? Are you concerned about the financial part of things? Are you concerned about, having the drive or having the clients? Make sure you're setting those things up before you make the leap, because if you have a job right now, that's the best.
Yeah.
Start putting the other things in place. Work that job like outside of the hours that you need to. So, you got to work a little bit harder now and make that plan, and then get it all lined up with a timeline.
Now, real quick on that, did you start kind of doing like this on the side? Like
Yes.
you had already kind of like on the weekends you were doing this stuff just to kind of get a feel for it.
I work from home.
Okay.
So I kind of worked a lot more than I should
I
have.
feel like that's such an important thing for people to know too, that like, especially after reading, I'm going to bring this book up like so many times, but Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic, like that, like, so you love what you do, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the thing that fills your bank account at first. Like if it's a passion, it's something that you love, like it's okay to supplement that. We've talked about this. It's okay to supplement that love with something else for a little while or forever. Like maybe you never go full-time at that thing that you love to do, but full-time in a business sense, but just being able to do it because you love it is enough sometimes.
Right. And I thought I was just going to do house flips, and then I got into it, and the market shifts, but then there's also that need, like in your whole first year of your business, maybe even in your second year too, you're going to find out your path might go in a completely different direction than you thought, based on clients and inquiries. And so I started getting inquiries, tons of them, about like design, and I'm like, well, maybe I need to start doing that in between my house flips to supplement that kind of stuff. Did I ever think I was going to do a client home renovation? No, I just finished that one. And it was a whole house we renovated, and we got them in there before the baby came, which was awesome. But usually I thought I was going to work with investors in my own properties, but it took a little bit of a turn.
Even just this property, like it's still in the market. Like what can we do with it? Like being creative and strategic.
Right. So the market turned in the summer, and we had staged the property, and I was like, to my investor, I was like, it's sitting. Let's make some money on it. We're still in a busy season. Like, let's put it on Airbnb. I need another like $1,500 to get it up to snuff so that we can have people stay here. Like silverware, coffee pot, all that stuff. And he's like, all right, let's do it. And we've been so busy. So instead of sitting here collecting dust and cobwebs, it's actually making us money. It's staying like lived in, so it doesn't feel like stale
Yeah.
when you're showing it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I think that's super important too. I mean, I think like when in entrepreneurship and even life, there's like laws, but there's no rules to this. Like being in transparent, because I think this is just important. Me right now, like I'm an inspirational speaker. I'm doing the life coaching thing. I'm only 3 months in, so I'm not Les Brown speaking every week all over the country. Not yet. But I'm like landscaping. I could potentially be doing some landscaping stuff for you. I might plow on Wednesday. I'm gonna be a waiter in December. Like there's no rules. You can utilize your skills to like survive and let it grow. I think for me, it's more about letting it grow organically. And I think what you said was important. Being open to like, I have an idea of where it could go, but what I know about life is it might be like, nope, going in this lane. So it's like just being open to that and just like there's no rules. Just make it work. Like no one's gonna like question. I mean, you got success. If you get successful, no one's gonna question how you did it. It's just like you made it work.
Then you tell the story later.
Exactly. Yeah. So in wrapping up, Pam, our final fun question here. In your opinion, what does a wild heart mean to you? Like, what is running in the world with a wild heart?
What is a wild heart? I think it's somebody that's uninhibited and free to follow their dreams and chase their goals and do it all with a very loving heart.
I love that.
I like that.
I like that. Can we write
that down? We got to record it. We'll say that later.
Thank you. Lastly, is there anything else that you have wish to say that you've not spoken about?
I think it's great. I'm so happy that you guys are doing this. I think it's awesome that you guys met in Coastal Connection.
Yeah.
Because, you're a perfect example as to why I started that and why I kept it going. Because I wanted to quit. Sometimes you wouldn't be here. Yeah, see what happens when you don't quit and you just believe in yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
And you got to work through the lows to get back to the highs. Yeah. So it's a perfect example of like just being in business for yourself. And I can't wait to see like all your other guests because I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for
Thank you. Last thing, where can people find you? And real quick, why Brass and Pine?
Brass and Pine. Oh, well, my original account was Flipping Single, and then I was like, that's not really like professional. Yeah. So I wanted to change the names. And brass, I mean, I just love. I'm a golden girl. Like I love gold and brass, and like not the 80s brass, like this brass.
Okay, I was gonna say,
the distressed brass, the trendy brass you see that it's coming out in kitchens and stuff. So there'll always be a brass signature piece in any house that I do, whether it's all the hardware in the kitchen or just like a little brass elephant on a bookshelf or something. You never know. And then white pine floors are my favorite.
Nice.
All right.
So that's where that came from. And what was the other question?
Where can people find you?
You can find me at Brass and Pine, BRASSANDPINE.com, or Brass and Pine on Instagram.
Cool.
Yeah. Yay. And Facebook.
And then if anyone's tuning in later or what have you, we'll have this episode uploaded by tomorrow. That's my promise to you on my website, www.togetherwerisespeaking.com.
Cool.